So, what exactly happens when the universe is asking you to grow up and lighten up at the same time? Because if I'm being honest, the astrology of late June kind of feels like Tommy Pickles in a business suit. We not only have the summer solstice on June 21st, but about a week afterwards, we have the full moon in Capricorn on June 29th, alongside Mercury going retrograde in Cancer on June 29th. And then the following day, on June 30th, we have Jupiter moving into Leo, which is honestly very exciting, but this energy might be a bit confusing to feel. Have no fear. Marisa is here, and I'm going to give you clarity on these energies so you not only better understand them, but so I can also give you practical tips to use this energy for the remainder of 2026. Hola, my beautiful dreamers. Welcome back or welcome to my channel. My name is Marisa LaBlue, and on this channel, we combine cosmic guidance with everything self-development to become our dream selves every day. If that sounds like something you're interested in, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell. That way you don't miss future videos like this one. And follow me on social media for more background, astrology, and lifestyle content. You can also check out the link in the description to download my free astrology cheat sheet and check out my other astrology guides. You heard me correctly in the beginning of the video. The universe is asking you to both grow up and lighten up simultaneously towards the end of June. We're starting off with the summer solstice on June 21st, and the summer solstice is really a time to renew ourselves for the remainder of the year, to really revisit and refresh so we are more aligned with the rest of the year. When you think of summertime, it's when the sun is at its highest point, the days are the longest, and we tend to have the most energy. Therefore, the summer solstice is all about realigning that energy into places that deserve it, places that bring you joy. And it's funny that we're experiencing the summer solstice while Jupiter is going to be moving into Leo, the sign ruled by the sun, by the end of June. So there is a lot of sun-focused energy. The sun is so important. It is our soul's vitality. And I like to think of it like soul, and then sun in Spanish is soul. That's how I remember that the sun is directly connected to our soul's vitality. What makes our soul spark joy? What makes it shine and radiate? And what makes it magnetic? The summer solstice is really trying to realign you every year where your soul wants to shine. When we go through the winter, everything kind of lays to rest, it sheds all of its old skin, and then everything is kind of like a blank canvas. And then in spring, the canvas starts to be painted, things start to come into fruition. By summer, everything is full bloom, and we want to make sure that we're using that full vitality to its greatest potential. So when we have the summer solstice combining with the energies happening a week later between Mercury retrograde, the full moon in Capricorn, and Jupiter moving into Leo, we have an interesting combination. Basically, what these transits are telling us is kind of how to tap into that vitality and use it properly. So let's get into that. I put together a few simplified statements to describe each transit in a nutshell, and I want you to kind of return to these statements. I would recommend writing them down because they gave me a great framework for what the energy of these three planetary movements will entail by the end of June. First of all, I see Jupiter in Leo as I want to live. That is a statement. I want to live openly, freely, expressively, the way that feels right to me. Right before Jupiter moves into Leo, it coincides with the June 29th transits of the Capricorn full moon and Mercury going retrograde in Cancer. The Capricorn full moon is reminding us that we have responsibilities that we must take action on. For the Capricorn full moon, the statement is, I have responsibilities.
I got responsibilities now. Responsibilities?
For Mercury going retrograde in Cancer, my statement is, let's talk about what I've been emotionally carrying. I want to live, but in order to live, I have to recognize that I do have responsibilities. Living freely, openly, and expressively is not separate from responsibility. In fact, I would argue that responsibility and structure does, to a certain extent, give you the movement and the routine to live more freely and true to yourself with direction. It gives a path and a channel for direction to happen. So you're not just living freely and expressively, willy-nilly and all over the place and never actually bringing anything into fruition that makes you happy. I want to live, but living is not separate from responsibilities. But before that, I need to assess what I've been emotionally carrying. I think a lot of the discourse around Jupiter and Leo has people thinking that they should be feeling joyous and creative and expressive and free and confident. But actually, in order to really optimize and access the energy that Jupiter and Leo holds, we kind of need to accept that there's a certain energetic doorway we need to step through in order to access that deep, confident joy and magnetism that we can access when Jupiter is in Leo. The doorway that we're entering the Jupiter in Leo energy through is the Capricorn Full Moon and Mercury stationing retrograde in Cancer. The Capricorn Full Moon is essentially going to be asking us, what responsibilities are you carrying that no longer belong to you? While Jupiter is going to ask, what would happen if you put that energy back into your own life? Because we've had so many outer planets move into Aries, there has been a heavy pressurized Aries atmosphere. And although the planets in Aries have given us a push to start this path of expression and self-realization separate from what the world has influenced us with and conditioned us to be, which is beautiful. It has also created this pressurized atmosphere where everyone is obsessed with maybe activities that aren't good for them, such as doom scrolling, things that are going to give quick dopamine hits, trying to fix ourselves, but hyper fixating on how to fix ourselves, figuring out how to constantly survive and push through things that maybe aren't good for us simply because we're like, no, we have to ram ourselves ahead because, you know, Aries is the ram. But Jupiter in Leo is going to bring us back into the mind frame of when was the last time you actually enjoyed living. And with the Capricorn Full Moon, it wants you to take accountability for the things that you have been doing that may not be good for you, the habits you have developed that may not be good for you. And you think that you're doing things that are responsible, that are mature, that are leading you on a certain path, but really you're telling yourself that, and you're telling yourself this potentially lie. So you can feel like you're doing something productive and moving onto a productive path when in actuality that path is distracting you. That path is not actually aligned with you. Some questions you can ask yourself for the Capricorn Full Moon are, what am I carrying because I genuinely care? What am I carrying because I think I have to carry it? What obligations are draining my life force? And this isn't about having a martyr victim mindset. It's about recognizing the things that are draining you. Capricorn tends to be a sign that takes the weight of the world on its shoulders, and it thinks that it has to take that burden for some reason. What is an area of life where you feel like you have started to take a burden that is not yours and it's draining you of your life force energy, of that vitality of the sun? By activating this self-awareness, the full moon is exposing places where maybe duty became your identity, productivity became linked to your self-worth. This can definitely be a thing with the Aries energy at play also. And responsibility became associated with self-sacrifice when that should not be the case. Those two are not synonymous. Now with Mercury going retrograde in Cancer on June 29th, I see this as the emotional bridge between the Capricorn full moon, which the moon is the emotions, and the moon rules Cancer. It's the emotional bridge between the Capricorn full moon and Jupiter moving into Leo. Whenever a planet goes retrograde, the areas of life that that planet rules over tend to feel like they're moving slower or being disrupted in some way. And this can feel very aggravating. It can feel like it is displacing us or holding us back from what we want to do, and it can feel limiting. But retrogrades are never trying to limit you. They are definitely trying to expose where you need to slow down. And there's a reason that you need to maybe slow down in that area of life and reassess. And an overall energetic theme I'm feeling for Mercury going retrograde in Cancer and being this emotional bridge between the full moon and Jupiter is the realization that we should make that a lot of us are not actually lacking confidence. What we're doing is we're living through emotional narratives that have been developed through various experiences that we have had. And these experiences, this proof, this evidence we think we have through the way we've lived our life and the situations we've been in have convinced us that we shouldn't be confident. It has convinced you that for some reason, the thing that you are inherently confident in that feels most natural to express for you is something you should not be so confident in. And this is where Jupiter in Leo comes into play, because Leo functions the brightest and the most magnetic when they are almost unabashedly confident in the things that bring them joy and in their creativity and in their self-expression. Therefore, the core message of Jupiter in Leo that I'm gathering is that you expand and your life expands when you allow yourself to actually be seen in authenticity. Jupiter in Leo rewards authenticity, visibility, creativity, having the courage, expressing yourself, not perfection, not productivity, not optimization, visibility in its authentic form. But let's get one thing straight about Jupiter and Leo. It is not asking you to become more egotistic, to become addicted to the validation of other people, to perform for people, or to be attention seeking. And these are all shadow sides of Leo, especially Jupiter in Leo, because Jupiter is an expansive, big planet. It can be associated with greed. So this is not to encourage greedy, egotistic behavior, but it is to encourage becoming more expressive, not necessarily impressive. On the contrary, you should not be worried about being impressive. The moment that Leo energy lets go of trying to impress and perform and actually just lives true to themselves and true to their actual expression is when they feel the most fulfilled and when that energy reaches its flow state and its brightest expression. At the time that Jupiter is moving into Leo and onwards, it's going to last until about July 26, 2027. I highly encourage you to find the pathways to create from the heart and share your gifts. And this doesn't mean that you have to get on a social media platform and create content or anything like that, even though this is a wonderful time to start doing that if that calls to you. But this could be anything. Maybe you want to pick up a crafting hobby again because that is how you express your heart. You love crafting. That will do wonders for your self-expression and your joy. Leo rules over the fifth house of joy, play, and the inner child. So the people who benefit the most from Jupiter moving into Leo aren't necessarily those who are most talented or those who are actually putting out public content and creation. It's those who are brave enough to stop hiding what resonates with their heart and their soul. Stop hiding that. Maybe you stopped crafting, creating art because somebody told you it was wrong or your art wasn't good or whatever. No, you benefit the most from this energy when you do not let that little negative voice in your head win or other people's negative opinions win. And the only compass for whether you should do something or not is how fulfilling it feels to your heart and to your soul. Now for a few practical tips to actually put this energy into action for the remainder of 2026. Number one is stop waiting to feel ready. The Capricorn energy, if you're not careful, might have you feeling like you have to wait until everything is perfect. This is one of the shadow sides of Capricorn. It might sit on something forever, waiting to make it perfect, or thinking that it has to take all these different detours and work itself to the bone to get it to be perfect. But Leo thrives through action because action is true expression. So with this energy, you need to ask yourself, where am I over preparing and therefore remaining stagnant instead of actively participating and moving the needle? Number two is to revisit a childhood passion of yours. This is the number one question I would ask yourself in order to follow this step. What did you love before it had to make money, before it had to be productive, or be considered useful to put your time and energy into it? Jupiter in Leo might be reawakening dormant passions and gifts within yourself that you have suppressed and hidden for various reasons. A lot of times in adulthood, we just become estranged from things that we once loved and found so much joy in. So what is a childhood passion of yours? Maybe it's a passion you never even got to indulge in because of various things that happened in your childhood. And then you look back on it and go, I wish I would have done that. I wish I could have done that. Maybe it's a class that you want to take, something that you want to learn, a hobby that you want to get back into. Only you know the true answer to that question, but it is essential that you ask yourself this and then you take action on it. Number three, Put yourself at the front and center of your story once again. If you're anything like me, I'm sure many of you can relate to this. Many of us have spent years trying to fix other people, take the burden of other people's problems upon our shoulders, fix people, save them from themselves. And the habit of being this way comes from many different things that we experience in our lives, right? But this transit is asking you, what about your life? Stop making yourself a side character in your own life. Leo is, without a doubt, the main character energy of the zodiac. And again, this doesn't mean to be egotistic and ignorant. What this means is to finally focus on yourself, put yourself at the center of your life again. And if you need to know kind of how to do that, I think my last video on breaking the addiction to validation and people pleasing might be really helpful for you, because ultimately this transit is all about building your self-worth again. So you feel empowered and positive in expressing yourself joyously, creatively, and authentically once again. It's about putting yourself back into the driver's seat rather than the passenger seat of your own life. But to do so, you must first assess where you've been putting your energy into places via the Capricorn Full Moon that do not need your energy. But recognize that you do have to enact certain responsibilities and follow certain structures in order to make a fruitful life happen. And then Mercury stationing retrograde in Cancer is just reminding us to slow down, return to what makes us emotionally fulfilled, especially through inner child activities, in order to realign our energy. We realign our energy when we get back in touch with the inner child, because that is the foundation of everything else we grow into. And once you do all that, you start putting yourself at front and center of your own life again, so you can start living authentically. Overall, I would say the Capricorn full moon is helping you put down what isn't yours to carry. The Mercury retrograde is helping you reconnect with what you may have forgotten. And Jupiter in Leo is reminding you that the next chapter of your life is not built through fear. It's built through courage, authentic creativity, and the willingness to let yourself be seen. If this video spoke to you, don't forget to give it a like and subscribe and comment, leaving your own experience with this energy or any other tips that you want to add. I love learning from you guys, and I love creating this positive ripple, so be sure to share and engage so it can reach others that need it as well. Until I see you next time, thank you so much for being here. I'm eternally grateful for you. Adios.